Hello and good day. This is Punchline. We are First News Nation, and Punchline is only national politics that comes to our front burner. President Tinubu, once again, still pushing away, pushing forward, making sure he, delivers on his mandate, even while the Presidential Election Tribunal is still ongoing. I am Samia Jufo, and this is Punchline. Thanks for joining us, and especially those of you who have joined us on social media, on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. And for those of you who have taken a step further to enable notifications on any of these platforms at First News Nation, thank you as well. Let's go straight into the meat of the matter. The first person to get kicked off when President Bola Tinubu took office was the CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, the embattled CBN Governor. After that, we had Abdulrasheed Bawa of the EFCC. After that, we've had the service chiefs, the Inspector General of Police, the customs and immigration bosses, all being replaced. But let's go back to Godwin Emefiele. Not about his investigation, not about anything like that. Who will be his replacement? Of course, there's an acting CBN governor in the person of Mr. Shonubi Folashodun. But the question is, what is in the mind of President Tinubu as we speak? Who are the names that he has penciled down? Is he keeping those cards close to his chest? If we could just guess, who would be the CBN governor under the Tinubu administration, we have a few names that we're toying around with. And by the way, I don't have any background information. I didn't get any information from anybody. So don't think that, I heard something I didn't hear. I'm just, let's call it spitballing, okay? I'm just guessing possible names that Bola Tinubu will be putting down, people who you might be contacting. But let's not make any mistake. Bola Tinubu will be looking for a financial expert, someone who is very good at his job, someone who knows how to handle economic policy, someone who probably has some experience in the finance markets, one of those people. And it might be any of the people I'm mentioning, or they might not be. Bola Tinubu might just pull an upset, bring in a name that you have never heard, bring in someone who is operating in the international market, who has garnered some experience. It just might be that. But here are some names I just think we possibly be looking at, okay? Follow me. Now, the first name on my list is the man in the acting capacity, former Director of Operations, Mr. Folashodun Shonubi. It's always happened in government that for a continuation of office, the leader usually picks someone who is probably in acting capacity, but the person has been working sometime. Maybe the person grew up in the system. Folashodun might be that person. He might be confirmed as the CBN governor. He might have what Bola Tinubu needs. Of course, Tinubu will need someone who has an understanding of how the banking system works, especially within the central bank. So if he's thinking about that, Folashodun will be on that list as the number one person. He might get confirmed. We don't know. But if I'm to think about it, that is the first name that will come to my mind. So let's possibly let's pencil that down as number one on our list. You might create your list. I don't know. Let's do something here, okay? I have a list. Create your list. Put it on our comment section below who you think. It might just tally with what I already have. Let's move to the number two person. Now, from the number 2 to number 3, number 2, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7 on my list, they might look improbable. It might look impossible to have these people because they have already achieved a lot in their lives, especially in their careers in the banking or the financial sectors. But nothing is impossible when it comes to governance. Someone might just say, okay, I've achieved a lot. Let me come back and help in public service. This name is someone that I'm also thinking might be considered. He's not a politician. His brother is a politician, but he's not. He was a former MD of First Standard Trust Bank before it merged with UBA to become UBA. Now he became just not immediate past yet. He was also the MD of UBA. I'm talking about Mr. Tony Elumelu, chairman of Harris Holding, chairman of UBA, chairman of Transcore. Do you think with all those portfolios, as well as his philanthropic work as the founder of Tony Elumelu Foundation, do you possibly think he might be a name to be considered? I think so. I'm thinking that it will take a lot to convince him to leave all that and become the central bank governor, but he's eminently qualified to take over that position. So he's number 2 on my list. If Tony Elumelu is considered as CBN governor, I wouldn't be too surprised. And if he actually gets it, you'll know that I probably put some bets on that. That's my number 2 person. Like I did say, some names on this list might look improbable. The third person on my list is the the chairman of Access Corporation, formerly Access Bank, now Access Holdings, Mr. Herbert Wigwe. It's possibly another name I'm thinking about. He might just get it. I'm thinking Bola Tinubu will be looking at someone within the banking sector, someone who has led a bank before. So if you're thinking of Herbert Wigwe, you might also be thinking of a name like Segun Agbaje of GTB. You might be thinking about Ladi Balogun of FCMB. Any of those men, maybe a Jimovia, maybe. He's been out of the system for a while. He's chairman of Zenith Bank. But, you might be thinking within anyone playing within that circle, a bank managing director. Because if you look at what happened between Lamido Sanusi and Emefiele, they were both picked from the banking sector. They were managing directors of their banks. But this might also happen for this next central bank governor. It might be Herbert Wigwe. It might just be Segun Agbaje. It might be Ladi Balogun. It might be anybody from a banking background. That's on my list as well. Now, the next person on my list. Is it possible? No, but it's something I might be fantasizing, if I want to say so. What of the former CBN governor? No, not that one. That one is the governor of Anambra State, not that one. I'm talking about His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. Yes, you are saying no. I agree. I'm also thinking if he's not the head of central bank, this possibly maybe Minister of Finance or something. But, centrally, his time was momentous as central bank governor. So I'm thinking as well that it's possible that his name might be considered. And it will be the first in history that we will have that kind of action. But, in history, we've also had royal fathers still handle political positions. Yes. But His Royal Highness Sanusi Lamido Sanusi is also on my list as number 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 on my list. It's possible. He had a meeting with Bola Tinubu. I don't know what that meeting was about. I don't think it's about being the CBN governor, but for stability and everything, I think he's a good choice if he ever decides to. I'm just fantasizing, like I said. Let's move over to a man who was former deputy governor of the central bank, former YPP presidential candidate. And before we go ahead, at this point in time, it's not about politics. I think at this point in time, people will be convinced based on the economy of the country and trying to put the country together. So we might be seeing people from across party lines being asked to head positions in the central bank. One name that might also crop up, aside Kingsley Moghalu, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, which is my number 4 position, is Obi Ezekwesili. But that's difficult. That is going too far. What you might never say never. It might just happen. She might, and she's a good fit. She might be called on. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, if not that she's the president of the World Trade Organization, she's also possible, At this point, we need the best and brightest. So I'm thinking Kingsley Moghalu. We have Obi Ezekwesili, possibly. And Kingsley Moghalu has retired from politics, I think. Ezekwesili was never a politician. But, these are names, these are eggheads, people who know their onion. So it is just possible that they should just make my list. Okay, let's also look at former CBN Governor Tunde Lemon, who retired from the CBN. He's also a possible name. He also started his own bank and all that. And he also was, a big name in the bank as a deputy governor. The same way we had Kingsley Moghalu. So it's also possible. He's on my list. Last but not the least on my list, everyone I just mentioned now are still within Nigeria. They still live and operate in Nigeria. This man doesn't live in Nigeria. He does the biggest business in Africa, being the president of the Africa Development Bank, former Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. You might not agree with me, but Dr. Akinwumi Adesina might be another name you might want to think about. It might be on the list of Bola Tinubu. I think at this point in time, even before that, there have been discussions. People have said yes, people have said no, people have said maybe, people have said, let me think about it. But any of these men or women would have been approached to take over this position. Most likely, they might have recommended somebody not them. But these are the names. So in a few years, you'll probably hear how somebody says, this guy recommended me and blah, blah, blah. That might be, and it might be that my list was correct. So write your own list. Who do you think will be the possible replacement for Godwin Emefiele as central bank governor? Let's just think out loud, because President Bola Tinubu needs a CBN governor as fast as possible. That's why he also replaced the EFCC chairman as soon as possible. He replaced the service chiefs as soon as possible. We cannot have a lacuna. It's either you confirm Folashonu as the CBN governor, or you're probably looking at any of these names, or you're looking at someone else. But somehow, I know, something is sure. Bola Tinubu will bring someone who is an expert in the financial market, might not be based in Nigeria, might be a Nigerian who is doing well abroad in any blue chip company or any big financial institution abroad. So let's watch and see how that looks like. Once again, thanks for joining us on our social media handles: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. It's First News Nation. I am Sami Ajifo. And as usual, we ask, if you could do anything with yourself this week, make sure you stay safe.